Alright, I figured I would make a video about my Rocky Mountain fish filter filtration cartridge, I guess you could call it. They are these blue guys right here where the filter socks would go. As I understand it, they're primarily made for water box tanks. I have a water box 4820, the old model, which most people will have. I believe the new model water box, you can swap out the filter sock configuration for a some kind of configuration for a filter roller. But filter rollers are unattractive to me because I have no interest in basically having a subscription set up to constantly be getting new filter rolls. I know they last a long time, but multiple times a year I don't want to be buying roll. No interest in that. And I also have very little interest in filter socks because I hate the bleaching process, the going through the dryer process. My wife doesn't want these things in the washing machine, so I'm like spraying them out with a hose. No interest at all. So this was like a good in-between option. So the way that these work is they are, if you look closely, they're a series of tiny plastic rings with ridges on them. So it's the equivalent of a 200 micron like mesh filter sock, right? It filters out a lot of stuff. I rinse them out on like Wednesday. I do all my maintenance on Saturday. I rinse them out on Wednesday, and then on Saturday when it rolls around again, I take them out and I take a scrub brush and I just, under hot water, I just scrub them out and it real good, and then I put them back in fresh. And that's it. And compared to doing all the, bleach bath and the through the wash, sneaking it in there when my wife's not looking, and putting them through the dryer, and all this, just tracking down half a dozen filter socks, it's so much better to me than filter socks. You just whip it out, rinse it off, scrub it off with a scrub brush once a week, throw it back in. And I will say, it works as far as I can tell. I know there's probably science behind it that I couldn't speak to, but from what I can tell, it is just about as effective as like a mesh filter sock. There is actually two caveats to these, or in the minds of some reefers, what they would deem an Achilles heel. So I run a very slow filtration pattern. I've got a Neptune Core 15 on this system. It's a 110 gallon total system, sump and 80 gallon display tank combined. And my Core 15, which is the weaker of the two Neptune pumps, it only runs at like 50%. So it is not going fast. I like that. I have biological filtration in here. I've got a UV that's not optimized, not plumbed into my return. So I want the water to kind of percolate for a while so this little pump can shoot it through the UV. I want my skimmers, my workhorse, so I want it to have the water to have plenty of time to cycle around in here. I've got a power head back there that cycles the water around in the main chamber of the sump. So I want slow filtration speed. And that's not, as I understand it, the norm in the hobby. It seems like normally people want as much turnover as as possible and they set up their equipment that way. They're taxing their pump to get that turnover, and I don't know. I just have found great success doing slower filtration, and that's good considering I want these, because as you can tell, so if you look at the water line of them, we're nowhere near topping over into the sump. The water line is about to here, which means that it's filtering through these things relatively fine. No real backup. Now by the end of the week it will be close to topping over, because all those little ridges in the discs that make up this column of discs, all those little ridges have filled up and blocked up with detritus that had stopped from getting into the sump. So my point being, if you like anywhere near fast filtration, I would stick to filter socks, or I'd go with a roller. I would not go with these, but if you believe in slow filtration, like I do, these are so much better than filter socks. I mean, leagues better than dealing with those. And they are so much better to me than a filter roller. One, because the cost is less. You know, it's not an arm and a leg less, but it's less. And also, I don't have to have a recurring cost every, 3 months, 4 months, another $20, another $20, another $20, and then inflation, and now it's $25, and now, you know, I don't have any interest in that. I think those rollers are kind of fiddly. I know people love them, and they look cool. The Red Sea one has the app and everything. I mean, it's really neat to get that data, but I don't know, call me simple. I just wanted a simpler solution, and I didn't like socks. And these have been great. I think I got them when they were on sale for like $110. They have sales pretty regularly. I think the website's RockyMountainFishFilter.com. But no, I mean, again, can't recommend them enough. The only other thing I would say, depending on your water box system, the only other criticism I have is, so they're designed so that if they do get clogged, the water drains down these center holes, right? So as you can tell, that center hole is higher than my overflow hole here in this section of the sump. So the water, if they do clog, it would never reach that hole in the center. So that is a design flaw. They do make a filter cup that I don't have that attaches to the bottom. It comes with it. So in the case that it worked properly, you could have floss in the bottom and the water would rush down through and get caught in the floss. So you have like a backup. You're not just dumping detritus into your sump. But there's two things you could do. On Etsy, there's a guy who will build you a little plug to put into these to allow that topping over to occur. Or what I do is, instead of tightening the cap down, like, smashing it down on there, they don't have any guidance about how you should do that. I leave it a little bit, like, I tighten it until I start to feel it, just barely get snug. And I'm sure that, increases or decreases the filter, the fine filter properties of it, so maybe mine being a little bit just like not tight at the top makes it so it's 250 micron or whatever. Again, I'm not one of those reefers that's like, I need the most efficient, every single aspect of this perfect. I want something that gets the big chunks of stuff that float through. And if I leave that cap a little loose at the top, it does allow when it reaches this top portion, the water to squeak in there so it never really tops over here. And I've, again, had great success. I put these in a while ago and I didn't clean my sumps. Don't judge my sump. I was running like floss cups, and I hated those. I hated floss cups. They let tons of stuff through after the floss got condensed. I just haven't gotten around to cleaning my sump, so don't judge me. My sump's got a little natural look to it. I've got plenty of growth in here, but anyway, I'm gonna cut this video off. Stop rambling. I highly recommend these. I know people with faster flow have gotten them and left reviews complaining about them. I think as long as you don't have faster flow, this is the most compelling option in the hobby right now. As long as you're not like a big filter roller advocate, or you really want a filter roller. If you want one of those, go for the filter roller. But if that's just not your bag, like for me, this is an amazing option. So hats off to Rocky Mountain Fish Filter Company. I think they did a great job.